All right, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Raider Roster Report. This is Raider Sparks coming at you with another video here. It is draft day or Christmas day, however you want to look at it. Finally going to get our franchise quarterbacks. I know everybody's really excited for the draft. But, hey, just wanted to get this out, get my thoughts and opinions on the prospects the Raiders should target. So, Spytech, if you're watching, I'll have all the player names in the comments. Just print it out. Your work is done. The only thing you need to do is figure out how to get as many of these players as you can, and the Raiders will be back on the road to success very soon if we can pull off some of these prospects. But I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've been following the draft pretty closely and have your own thoughts and opinions on the different players and what the Raiders should do. I think every Raider fan should post a video like this. Just that way you can't complain, or you can complain if the draft doesn't go the way that you want. But anyways, it's been a lot of fun watching all these prospects. I tried to break down as best I could, and basically I kind of watched all of them as much as I can. I'm not a scout or anything. I'm just a YouTube guy, just like all of you. Twitter guy following the draft. So. But these are the prospects I really liked. I've got 54. We've got 53-man roster, but we get an extra one, so I just did that. And I don't include Fernando Mendoza either, so because that's one thing. Usually you have the first pick of the draft. It's really exciting. You don't know who the team's going to take, but this one's pretty obvious. So it looks like we'll have our franchise quarterback here very soon. So very looking forward to it. But anyways, let's get into the video. I kind of rank these players how I see them, and kind of the rounds that fit best. I kind of went heavy on safeties because we definitely need our safety room improved. We have very few safeties. We have 3, and they're all on expiring contracts. So we definitely need to address that position. Just like every other Raider fan, I went heavy on receiver as well, because I do think we're going to get 1 or maybe even 2 receivers in the draft. Maybe 1 or 2 definitely 1 safety, maybe 2. And I also think the defensive tackle unit needs help. If you look at the draft compensation in our defensive tackle room, our highest drafted prospect is Broderick Martin, 3rd round, and we don't even know if he's going to make the team. Then you have Tonka in the 4th, Thomas Booker in the 5th, Pegues was in the 6th, and Lalu and Butler, UDFA guys. So not a lot of draft capital has been spent in that regard on the defensive line. I think we change that this draft, and we get somebody high up in the draft. Hopefully, is my thought. But we'll see how it goes. Also, the wide receiver room. We have Jack Bash as a 2nd round pick. Obviously, his rookie season probably didn't go the way that a lot of us would expect of a 2nd round receiver. After that, Tucker's a low third round pick, and then Dante is a 4th round pick, and Jalen Air, I believe, was a 6th round pick. So for a wide receiver room, that's not a lot of draft capital spent on the receiver room. So that's really where the talent needs to go. And then obviously our safety room, Chin was 64th overall, so bottom of the 2nd round. And then Palomo was UDFA, and Tristan McCullough, I think he was a 6th round pick, but he might have been a UDFA as well. So not a lot of drafts. So no surprise that those are the areas that we need to target heavily in the draft, because really all the other rooms have 1st round talent. You look at our tight end room, obviously Brock's a 1st rounder, running back Genty's a 1st rounder. We have 2 1st round linebackers. Edge, we have a edge 1st round. Then we have Max, who's all pro, so that doesn't really matter about his draft stat. Outside cornerback, we've got Stokes is a 1st round pick as well. So and then Porter's a 3rd round pick. So that's pretty good draft capital right there in those position groups. But definitely have 3 position groups. And then on the offensive line, we have a lot. Colton's a 1st round pick. Linderball's 1st round pick. We've got 3 3rd round picks, and then JPJ is a 2nd round pick. So the Raiders definitely have investment as far as draft capital and draft talent on the offensive line as well. So we'll see how it goes. So my first player would be actually the first 8 guys that I have. I think they're all going to be first-round picks. So if any of them fall, then yeah, you take them. But just something to keep in mind. I think there's on the consensus, if you look at it, I think it's going to be wildly different than what actually happens in the draft. I think all of these guys have a chance at least to go in the first round. The very first target I would have would be at receiver would be Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana, obviously for obvious reasons. The connection with Mendoza, probably have to trade up into the first round to get him, but if he slips a little bit in the first round, gets into that 25 to 32 range or whatever, I would definitely consider it. Max Iheanachor from the right tackle from Arizona State is my number 2 guy. You know, if he happens to fall there to 36 for some reason, I mean, you take him. I know Spytek and Kubiak both said they like their tackles, but this guy's different. He can move. He's powerful. He's the perfect outside wide zone right tackle. He'd be our right tackle for the next however long we want to keep him. So he would be a great pick for us. I do think he'll be a first rounder. D'Angelo Pons is next at cornerback. He's 50 on the consensus, which is criminal. He's a first round talent all day. I don't care how tall he is. He played nickel, play outside. He could be our Devin Witherspoon in the Seattle defense. So we'll see if we can get him. Chris Johnson from San Diego State, another outside cornerback, can play inside as well, but really talented player. Excellent in zone, maybe the best zone cornerback in the draft, to be honest with you. So, and obviously we're going to be playing zone because we re-signed Stokes. So that's the guy I would be looking at. Emmanuel Pregnon, he's 44 on the consensus, was criminal. He's super strong guard, and he moves. His testing was good. In the draft community, people have been up and down on him for some reason. I don't know, watch the tape. The guy's an ass kicker on the line. Even though they said that we don't need help on the offensive line, I don't know. He would be a tough one for me to pass up. And then Chase Biscontis is at 40, who the Raiders met with. Actually, the Raiders met with, I don't know if they met with Cooper, but they met with D'Angelo Pons and Chris Johnson. But Chase Biscontis out of Texas A&M. Again, he's a wide zone, perfect guard, very athletic, strong, kicks ass. So anyways, it would be a good pick. And he's 40 on the consensus, so that's a possibility. But I do think there's a shot he goes in the first round. And then Treydan Stukes from Arizona. I think he's going to go in the first round. He's super good. He's an outside corner safety. He's kind of a little bit of Kyle Hamilton in him, so he can kind of play everywhere, but super, long, lengthy. He's got speed. He can tackle. He can do everything. So, I mean, talking about boosting your secondary, I think if they just played him full time at free safety, he'd be an potential all-pro. So I think he's that good. And he's 54 on the consensus. I have no idea why. And then Keylan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. He's another nasty guard. Moves well. Doesn't move quite as well as the other 2 guys, I don't think, but still, just that mentality. Him and JPJ at guard would be tremendous for Ashton Genty. And he's 51 on the consensus. I do think there's a shot he goes first in the first round, but we'll see. Guards tend to fall, so you never know. Then we get more sort of into the realistic realm, I think. So guys that I would pick at 36, I'd start with Texas Tech's defensive tackle Lee Hunter, who's 52 on the consensus. I think he's the best DT in the class. Maybe I should say most disruptive defensive tackle in the class. A lot of people will peg him as a nose tackle. I think he's more 3-tech, just a bigger 3-tech. But he's tremendous. Look at what Texas Tech did on defense. Their 2 edge rushers, Bailey and I think it's Romello Height or Cassius Howell. I always get those 2 guys confused, but they're going to be high draft picks. A lot of the reason is for him, but specifically Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker. He went from a low draft pick to a potential UDFA to all of a sudden a second-round pick and Heisman Trophy finalist. And Lee Hunter was a big part of that. And so if we get him to eat up space and use his pass rush, anytime he got one-on-one, he'd beat his man. He had 33 tackles for loss over the last 3 seasons. And so I think tackles for loss is a pretty good predictor of disruptive, especially on the interior defensive line. So he's my number 1 guy if the Raiders can pull it off. And I do have 3 mock drafts that I'll go to. One's kind of a shocking one, just have a little fun. One's me trying to do a little bit of a predictive draft, and then my A+ draft. And so, Spytech, if you're really watching this, and you if you want to hit big in the draft, do the predictive or my A++ draft. And so, anyways, so my number 10 player would be Kayden McDonald. He's 29 on the consensus. Again, another big body, nose tackle type, only 21 years old, and I think he does have some pass rush upside eventually. He's only 21, so he's still kind of learning the position, but man, he'll keep our linebackers clean. He can fight in the middle, and that would be tremendous. And then Christen Miller out of Georgia, he's 46 on the consensus. Again, another big body defensive tackle who really plays up and down the line. So he's 21 years old as well. I think you can grade those 3 tackles any way you want. People have all kinds of different opinions. I think you got a room of people watched all 3 of them, you'd have a different consensus on all 3 of them. So any of those picks would be great for the Raiders. We need a big body up front, and especially when you watch the Philadelphia game last year, it looked like, it looked like the varsity O-line versus the JVD line. It was bad. And so we need a big body up there that can handle the double teams and get some pocket push and that type of thing, and just be disruptive guys. Keep our linebackers clean. So that's something that we need. And then my 12th guy is Germie Bernard out of Alabama. He's 56 on the consensus. I mean, he's my number 3 receiver. I've got Malachi Lemon, Omar Cooper Jr., and then Germie Bernard. I just think he does everything. So if we're looking for a JSN type, somebody that can line up anywhere, can win at all levels of the field, he doesn't drop passes, and he's got yak ability. I think he was top 5 in FBS last year with the most for 20-yard passing plays, so he can get downfield. He's got good speed, agility. He can even return kicks. He did it at USC, at Washington early in his career. That's the other thing about Germie Bernard. As a freshman, he got on the field in Washington when they had three NFL caliber receivers, and as a freshman, he still put up 400 or 500 yards. And by the way, Denzel Boston didn't get on the field, so just keep that in mind when everybody's talking about Denzel Boston. So. Although I wouldn't mind Denzel Boston, he just didn't make my list because I think there's another similar receiver, that would be a better fit for us. So it's taking him at 36 or taking the other guy in the 3rd round, I think it makes more sense. You probably know what I'm talking about. But then my next guy is AJ Haulcy. He's 59 on the consensus, and I would definitely consider him at 36 as well. If the other guys weren't there that I talked about, but really productive, probably the best free safety in the class, in my opinion. I know there's other well-rounded safeties and that type of thing, but AJ Haulcy's done it at 3 stops. He's got great ball production, at New Mexico, Houston, and then finally at LSU. He was awesome. If you watch him do the gauntlet drill at the combine, he did it almost better than some of the receivers. So just a tremendous player. He's got the NFL body already, and I think that would be a slam dunk pick. And then my number 14 guy is Elijah Surratt, who I was just kind of referring to, out of Indiana, the big wide receiver. He's 75 on the consensus, which is criminal. But, late second, I think it would be a good spot for him. If we get him in the 3rd, even better. But just a tremendous player, especially in the red zone. He's got the most touchdowns over the last 2 years of anybody in college football. So, I mean, if we can just move the ball down the field with Ashton and Brock, and then use him as the weapon in the red zone, I don't see why we wouldn't go that route. And then Keionte Scott, the defensive back out of Miami, he's number 64, I believe, on the consensus, and just a tremendous player. And one of the reasons I like him is, we need defensive back help, and he's more strong safety, nickel, however you want to say it. But I heard some of the internet folks talking about the Raiders and their defensive front doing a kind of a under coverage, which loading 3 defensive linemen on one side and then kind of basically Max on the other, and then having the other guy blitz. Well, that's what Keionte Scott does best. That's what they did in Miami with Bain. They did exactly that. And Keionte Scott averaged more than a pressure a game, had 5 sacks. So his ability to get after the quarterback, and if we're actually running that type of front, then he's kind of the perfect player, to be honest with you. And then the next player I have is Gabe Jacas out of Illinois, the edge rusher, number 50 on the consensus. I think, you know, it may not seem like a need, but if we can get a better rotation, more deeper rotation, and he's super good. He can stand up. He can play outside linebacker. He can put his hand in the dirt. He can spell Quiddy or Max, and so we'd have a nice rotation there. But just an outstanding edge prospect. And not only that, but if he hits, then if at some point we do want to trade Max, it would make it a whole lot easier to have him in the building. So my next prospect, and I think now we're getting kind of late third round prospects, but my next guy at number 17 would be Jonah Coleman. I think he's the perfect number 2 back for the Raiders. I think, you know, you'd have sort of a Tyler Algier or Charbonnet from Seattle kind of combination with like Bijan or Kenneth Walker with Ashton. So I think he would be the perfect running back for it. We need a number 2 running back, and I don't know if we're going to sign one or not, but if we ended up drafting Jonah Coleman late third round, somewhere kind of in that range, that would be outstanding. And the next guy I have is Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh, number 74 on the consensus. I have him on here really because he would change our defense. He's a linebacker / safety. I look at him more of the Jeremy Chin role, but better. He would start in that role immediately, give us the ability to have 3 linebackers basically on the field, but improve our coverage over Chin. Chin could go back to more of that strong safety look, and it would be dynamite for our defense because you wouldn't know who was blitzing. If we're going to blitz our linebackers a lot, you'd have 3 on the field that can blitz, and 3 on the field that can play linebacker. And then Kyle Lewis in coverage is amazing, so he would be a great pick for the Raiders. Number 19, I have Skyler Bell. He's number 80 on the consensus out of UConn. Again, if we want to take a shot or a stab to try to get a JSN type receiver, that's your guy. He had a monster year last year. Great athlete. Again, kind of like Germie Bernard, can line up anywhere on the field, can run every route and do everything like that. So his only problem is the yak. He kind of goes down, I think, a little too easy. I don't think he's as good of a blocker. Germie Bernard, that's kind of what the separation I have is on those 2 guys. But either way, he's a hell of a receiver. And then my 20th guy is Zachariah Branch. And he's actually number, 65 on the consensus, but you never know, he might fall. Unfortunately, he got arrested, very minor arrest, but still not a good look from Georgia, but very fast. We met with him 3 times, so there's obviously interest, and obviously he's got the legacy of his uncle Branch being part of the Raider history. So we'll see. He's definitely a playmaker, though. Georgia used him weird. There's a lot of throws behind the line of scrimmage, but nonetheless, he's super fast, and he can return kicks for us too. And so he'd be a dynamite addition, playmaker. And like I said, I got a lot of receivers. So Bryce Lance, he's number 89 on the consensus out of North Dakota State. If any team's going to draft him in this range, it might be the Raiders, because we did scout his quarterback last year a lot. Obviously Cam Miller, we drafted him, and so the Raiders know a lot about Bryce Lance. And say what you want about him, about whatever routes he does run, the one thing he does do very well is stretch the field. You know, he was awesome. He had over the last 2 years, he had 1 of every 5 receptions was a touchdown. So he stretches the field big time vertical threat, but he's fast too. He's a big guy too. He's 6'3", I think, something like that. But he has a 1.49-10 split, so he accelerates extremely fast. That is a very impressive speed. And I just like what he would do to the offense and open up the field for everybody. So if we are able to get him, that would be fantastic. And the next, Kamari Ramsey, he's 93 on the consensus, safety out of USC. Obviously, we met with him. A little concerning with his injuries, but if all that clears and he goes back to what he did in 2024, playing more free safety, that's I think his best position. It would be great. He could cover the back end for us. He played a lot more nickel last year and things like that. I don't think it worked out as well for him at USC, but if you go back to 24 and kind of watch him play more deep safety, it was actually pretty good. And then last, sort of in the late third round, Deshaun Stribling out of Ole Miss. He's number, what is he, 91 on the consensus. Again, another big body, fast guy, but he really snatches the ball out of the air. Actually runs some pretty good routes too. He sinks his hips pretty well for a bigger guy. Definitely an X receiver. So I got a few X receivers on here, which is definitely something I think position we're going to fill. So a very good player. And then let's see here. So we get kind of more into the fourth round. My 23rd overall player is Julian Neal, cornerback out of Arkansas. He's 104 on the consensus. I really liked him. Just kind of reminded me of Josh Jobe up in Seattle, right? A big body, 6'2" type guy. One thing that stood out to me with Julian Neal is his zone coverage and also his tackling ability. He's maybe the best tackling. Chris Johnson's good too, but he's an excellent tackler as well. And so he just kind of reminded me of Josh Jobe, and I thought, this would be a perfect fit for our defense. My 24th player is Genesis Smith out of Arizona, 111 on the consensus. I think he's got range for days on the back end. He's only 21 years old. The knock on him, a lot of people, it's like groupthink out there, is that he can't tackle, but he has averaged over 70 tackles the last 2 years in each of the seasons. So for a guy that can't tackle, I don't know. I think if you actually sat and watched him in Arizona, yeah, it was kind of rough at the beginning, but he got better. And I think he's 21, and I think that's going to come. He's too good of an athlete not to be able to get his form down and that type of thing. So I wouldn't have any worry about it. Maybe in the first year, but this is more about 27 anyways, and the way he covers the back end and his ball skills, I think you take a shot, especially in the fourth round. 25 would be Devin Moore out of Florida, cornerback. Again, maybe one of the best cornerbacks in the draft. His problem is he's tough to stay on the field. His consensus is 104. If you can get him healthy and he's able to stay on the field, he would start for us. I mean, there's no question about it in my mind. So the reason why I have him down here a little lower in the fourth round is because I'm concerned with the injuries. But if the Raiders are comfortable with him, they draft him. Again, I think he's our starting cornerback opposite Stokes. He's that good of a player. He's just the injuries. At 26, Chris McClellan, number 124 on the consensus. Kind of if we miss out on the other big body defensive tackles, Chris McClellan gets after the passer. He had 8 sacks last year. Tackles for loss, good against a double team. In fact, I think that's why Zion Young, his teammate, is getting so hyped up, is because Chris McClellan was doing a lot of the dirty work on the inside. But plus, he can play up and down the line of scrimmage. He's very versatile. 3-tech, he can play nose if you want him to. Ideally, you don't want him at the 3-tech. He can play out at the 5 too. So excellent play. I really liked him out of Missouri. And then 27 for me was Kalen Proctor out of southeast of Louisiana. 121 on the consensus, but I've heard some comps to him to Milton Williams, which that's pretty lofty. Even if we got 2/3 of Milton Williams, it'd be great for us. But just a fast athlete, can get after the passer. And one of the things I mentioned with Lee Hunter too was the tackles for loss. There's a stat out there that went back over the last 10 years of all the main defensive tackles in the NFL that have all the names you would know. One thing they all had in common, all different shapes, sizes, speeds, testing, everything else, the one thing they had in common, they all average in one season at least a tackle for loss. And he's the only one that I saw that has done that. He had 13 tackles for loss in 13 games. So I do think that kind of means something. He showed out at the Shrine Bowl. Don't worry about the competition. He played LSU. He had 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. So there you go. He's a good player. And then at 28, I have tight end Carson Ryan out of BYU. He's 310 on the consensus, but I have no idea why. He's one of the best tight ends in this class. He goes for over 800 yards in passing. He can block. He can do it all. And I'll make a prediction now, if we draft him, that by the end of the year, he's our tight end too. He's that good of a player. I don't know why he's 310 on the consensus. No clue. My 29th player is out of Washington, cornerback Tacario Davis. Again, another long, lengthy, very athletic. I think it kind of meets Spytek's eye because we drafted Darian Porter last year for those same reasons. He's 129 on the consensus, but a good cornerback. I mean, he would be good. He would be definitely a good competition for Darian Porter. And then number 30, Brian Parker, Brian Parker the second, I should say, he's 112. He's out of on the consensus. He's out of Duke, a 5-position offensive lineman. Easy to make the comparison to Graham Barton, who Spytech drafted at Tampa. Obviously, Barton went in the first round, and I've got Parker in the 4th for a reason. He's just not quite as skilled as I think Graham Barton, but still could be a great addition to this offensive line, and obviously probably fits Spytech's eye. So he makes the list. And then 31, Rene Conga out of Louisville. Again, another incredible athlete. He's 234 on the consensus. I have no idea why. I think a little bit late to the party. Didn't get the combine invite. I'm sure that's probably why he's down there. But just a fantastic player. In fact, he had a better 3-cone than Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald, which, I mean, come on. This guy's an impressive athlete. And then we kind of get in the 5th round. I guess my 32nd player would be Carver Willis out of Washington. He's 179 on the consensus. I think his thing is just he's a technician. He's got really good hand, up, low hand, high hand, whatever, leg drive. He's played left tackle, could play guard as well. I think he's just would be great in the zone scheme because he's very athletic as well. So just a player I really liked watching. 32, I've got Max Llewellyn out of Iowa, edge rusher. He's 153 on the consensus. Easy to make the comparison. He looks like Max Crosby, white guy or whatever, but plays like him too. High motor guy, got the height, length, everything. Very productive at Iowa. Just a tremendous pass rusher, and just that football mentality that he brings from Iowa. He'd be a tremendous addition and rotation for our edge group. 30, what am I on here? 33, I think. I kind of lost track, sorry. But 33, I've got Jack Endries, tight end out of Texas, 155 on the consensus, but this is more just going back to the Cal days. 2 years with Mendoza at Cal. He was really good. Not necessarily an inline blocker, but he's a move blocker. Like if you put him in motion and have him block from motion, he's actually really good at it. And I think if you watch Seattle, they kind of did that a lot. So it might be a really good fit. But if you want to make Mendoza comfortable, get his old tight end, I think that would go a long way for him. And then I think, what am I on, 35? Jack Kelly, linebacker out of BYU, very instinctual. He's 185 on the consensus. But he had 10 sacks last year. And so if we're going to be using our linebackers to blitz, there you go. He's had 10 sacks on linebacker, off-ball linebacker spot or inside linebacker spot, whatever you want to say. But very good player. And he turned out to be a much better athlete than people thought. His testing was excellent. So, and then 36, Effinson Presock, I can't say his first name, sorry, but he's 134 on the consensus. He's another cornerback out of Washington, another athletic, long, lengthy cornerback that I think would probably match what Spytech's looking for. And then next, 36, Keelan Black, running back out of Indiana. He's 187 on the consensus. I do think is obviously the Raiders met with him, but would be a nice number 2 back as well. I think it'd be a good pairing with Ashton. And then 37, I go right back to Indiana again. Riley Nowakowski, he's the tight end / fullback. Again, bring another Indiana guy. He's 213 on the consensus, but this dude can freaking flat out block. He seeks for contact everywhere on the field. He's looking to hit somebody, but he's a fullback tight end guy and just a dominant player. And then we kind of get into the 6th round, 39, Eli Heinrich. I think he's going to go higher than the 6th round. He's 205 right now on the consensus. But you want to talk about a third down back or slot cornerback or slot receiver. He had like 1,800 yards combined playing receiver and running back. So a tremendous athlete. Would be an awesome third down back for us, and then give us that slot receiver role as well if we want. And I have no doubt, even though there's no production of it that I saw, that he can return kicks. He's too good of an athlete, and anybody that can play receiver and running back as well as he does, I'm confident he can return kicks. And then I think we're at 40, Mason Rieger, the edge out of Wisconsin. Again, he can play stand-up. He can, if you want to look at a guy to maybe get in the mix with Malcolm Kuntz and Snowden, kind of in that position, or just play on the edge with Max and and Kwity Paye, he can do all of those things. Very explosive athlete. I think he had like a 40 vert. His thing was just injuries. He's had like several knee surgeries, but I mean, he had like a 40 vert, so I think the knee's fine. The next guy I have, number 41, is Bishop Fitzgerald, another safety out of USC. He's 197 on the consensus. I don't know, he kind of outplayed Ramsey, but I think that was just by choice on the coach because they put him back there. But Ramsey from 2024 in the back end was really good, and I think Ramsey's more versatile because he can play more up, and Fitzgerald can too. But I just think that as a free safety, Fitzgerald's actually a really good free safety with good ball skills. Be a great pick for the Raiders. And then 42, I've got Jamari Taylor, the running back out of Virginia, number 206. So he's just a very talented running back. You know, he'd be good number 2 behind Ashton. Had a great season as well. And he breaks tackles. It's one thing with Coleman and him, they both are really good at breaking or eluding tackles, I should say. And then 43, Jalen Husky, the safety out of Maryland. I think he's a multi-role safety, and so, you know, we need safety help, and he's just a solid player. He's 221 on the consensus. Would be a great addition to our safety room. And we're talking 6th-round pick here, so, but still a very, very good player. And then another free safety I have out of Illinois, I really liked watching him, is Miles Scott, former receiver, turned defensive back. And a lot of people have him listed as a cornerback. A lot have him listed as a safety, but either way, he's great on the back end. He's got great ball skills. Would be an awesome player for us. So there's a guy to consider. And then if we want to take a shot at another kind of JSN type guy, had a big season with Georgia Tech, is Eric Rivers. I just like his game a lot. 238 on the consensus, very fast. I believe he could probably return kicks too, even though I didn't see that he did it. But again, another player that if we want to take a shot to try to get a JSN type, or maybe just think about a Trey Tucker replacement, there's the guy I would be looking at. And then 46, Kayden Wetjen out of Iowa. Best returner in the game, punts and kicks, both. He's fantastic. He was great at the Shrine Bowl. He showed that he could actually play slot receiver. He's really good at it. He's 236 on the consensus. So as a guy, I really enjoyed watching, and just a tremendous returner. It'd be great for our team. And then we look in the 7th round. Go back to the defensive tackle room. Number 47, Brandon Cleveland at NC State. Smaller nose tackle, though. Definitely strong against the run. Kind of Byron Murphy-esque. Maybe not as athletic, but, you know, Byron Murphy plays a lot of nose tackle in Seattle. Even though he's smaller, he's like right around 310. Well, Brandon Cleveland's around 307, 312. So kind of in the same ballpark. But that build, that shorter build, that stocky kind of build. And what I like about Brandon Cleveland, he really knows how to play the position of defensive tackle. So he'd be a great pick for us. And then 47, I think I got Roman Hemby again, another Indiana running back. He's kind of a third down, but maybe also a number 2 running back. Had a great season. He's a little older prospect, though. Actually, both the Indiana guys are both kind of older prospects, and so is Jamari Taylor, which may be a little concerning. That's probably why they're as low as they are on the consensus. But somebody to keep an eye on for me, somebody I liked watching. Obviously had a big season with the Indiana. And if we can get as many Indiana guys as we can, that's cool. You know, I'm fine with that. Another guy I have on here is Malik Benson, receiver out of Oregon, 223 on the consensus. Maybe possibly a Rashid Shaheed type player. Got the speed for it, kind of the same body type. Can return kicks as well. So, you know, if we want to try to marry that back up, that worked very well in Kubiak's offense for the last 2 years. And I think he's a guy that kind of mirrors that same type of player. And then 50, Jaden Duggar out of Louisiana. He's 302 on the consensus. He's a inside linebacker, but I think NFL team's going to move him to the edge, like Nwosu from Seattle. What they did with him, he was a full-time linebacker at USC. When he came out, they moved him to edge, and look at the results. It's been great. And I think Duggar's a very similar player to that. And then Nnamdi Obiazor, I can't really say his name, I'm sorry, but he's an inside linebacker. from TCU. Outstanding players, 320 on the consensus. Criminal. He's one of the better linebackers, I think. Just natural instincts, tackler, can coverage, good athlete. I mean, everything you'd want in a linebacker. If we're looking here at the 7th round, it'd be a great guy to come in and back up our guys, you know. And then 52, Barian Brown out of LSU, 247 on the consensus, very fast, one of the best returners in the game as well. That's why I have him on here, because we need help in the return game. You know, we got to get better field positions. It would be a great pick for us. Let's see here, 53, Jay Knott, again, Oklahoma. It didn't go well in Oklahoma. He's a running back. He's like 260 or so on the consensus, or maybe a little higher than that. I didn't write it down, but anyways, go back to his days at Cal. He's one of the best running backs with Fernando Mendoza in the league. I think he was just hurt at Oklahoma. I don't know what happened, but tremendous talent. And so we brought him in, pair him up again with Mendoza, and we might hit a home run there. And then last to round it out, Max Bredesen, fullback out of Michigan, 292 on the consensus. This is a guy that you want on any football team. Obviously, he's a fullback. He's a dog, and he's a very, very good blocker. So let's get into the shocking. So those are my top guys for the Raiders. Spy Tech, I'll have it in the comments. Just print it out. Get as many of these guys as you can. That's your job right now. Don't even worry about the scouting department. Just go with it. Go with this scouting right here, and this team would be awesome. But let's talk about a shocking moment in the draft if it happened. What if we traded Max to the Cowboys for pick 12 and 20? And we got Malachi Lemon out of USC, the wide receiver, and Akeem Mesidor out of Miami, the edge rusher. That would be fire if we could pull that off. But, you know, Malachi Lemon would be awesome in this offense as a receiver. You know, he's like Amon-Ra St. Brown / Puka Nacua type guy. I mean, fantastic. And then Akeem Mesidor, Max Crosby's put out a video. That's his guy in the draft, so maybe Max is foreshadowing something for us. Who knows? But if we replace him with those, and then we went ahead and continued with the draft and got Keylan Rutledge, the guard, would be shocking to me because of everything we said about our line. And we picked at 36 and got a guard. That would be surprising to me. Gabe Jacas, if we were able to somehow capture him somewhere in the late 2nd round or something, trade up for him, that would be surprising to me to take an edge that high. Not the player, but it would be surprising to get an edge there. And then in the 3rd round, get Deshaun Stribling. I think it would be surprising to me because there hasn't been any buzz with him and the Raiders. You know, you'd think a lot of these other guys I talked about, these bigger receivers, have been kind of mocked to him, but I've never seen Deshaun Stribling kind of talked about with the Raiders. So that would be kind of a surprise. And then Devin Moore, the cornerback, a surprise just because of the injury, I guess. And then Chris McCollum in the 5th round, great player. It would be a surprise if he's there in the 5th round. That's why this would be a surprise. Jamari Taylor would be a surprise running back for me just because I think Jonah Coleman or one of the Indiana guys is going to be the running back. I just have a feeling. So that would be kind of surprising to me. And then drafting Eric Rivers would be a surprise as well, just because, again, nobody even talks about this guy, and he's just kind of buried there. Even though he had a monster couple seasons, gets open, everything else I talked about already. And then if we drafted Nnamdi Obiazor, as well in round 7, I think it would be a surprise again, just because he's so slept on in this draft. There's not a lot of buzz around him, so I think that would be a surprise pick. And then of course, if we went ahead and drafted a kicker and Drew Stevens out of Iowa, I think that'd be a little bit surprising, but I wouldn't be surprised if we draft a kicker, but I think a lot of people would be surprised. So my best predictive draft, here it is. So I'd go at 36, either Kayden McDonald or Christen Miller, one of the two. And the reason I did that, for no other reason, is just because one of them is probably going in the 1st round and the other may be there at 36. And so however that breaks out, one of them. And then the receiver in the 2nd round I pick would be Germie Bernard. I think he's the guy that the Raiders really have their eye on, just because of everything I talked about with him. And then the safety in the 3rd round, Kamari Ramsey, obviously we met with him. I just think he kind of fits the eye of just a well-rounded, versatile safety. And then we turn around and get our big wide receiver in the late 3rd and Bryce Lance. For the reasons I mentioned, the speed, open up the offense, And also, I'm sure we scouted him a lot since we just drafted his quarterback last year. I'm sure we know a lot about him. And then, again, in the 4th, Brian Parker the 2nd, just because of what I mentioned, the fit with Graham Barton and Spytek and all of that. Be good value in the 4th round. And then Takario Davis, the cornerback out of Washington. I would be a little surprised, too, especially with some of the other cornerback options that may be available. But I would be somewhat surprised, not really surprised. Oh, that's my predictive draft. Sorry. That's my predictive draft. That they get Takario Davis. And then running back, Keelan Black, I think that's the guy they target. I think that's the guy they want in the 5th round. I think that's kind of realistic. And then Max Llewellyn, the edge, sort of in the 5th, 6th round area, wherever we can get him. I think that would be a great fit with Crosby and Kwity Paye. So that's my predictive draft. And then Riley Nowakowski, the tight end fullback. I think the Raiders would be smart to draft him as well. And then I've got Dominic Zavada, the kicker from Michigan, is my prediction if we do draft a kicker for the Raiders. And so there you go. And this will all be in the comments as well, so you can go back and refer to it. But my A++ draft, Spytek, please, if you're watching, this is the guys you got to get. You gotta make this happen. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza done. Lee Hunter, gotta get my man. It's the best DT in the class. Let's get it done. Best free safety in the class, AJ Haulcy. So you get Lee Hunter at 36 and somehow trade back up in the 2nd, or if we fall, safeties fall. But AJ Haulcy, fantastic. Elijah Surratt is a receiver. If he's there in the early 3rd, go get him. Red zone target threat all day with Fernando Mendoza. It would be amazing. And then Jonah Coleman would be another guy. He's the perfect number 2 running back, so in my opinion. I don't know where he's going to end up in the draft. I've seen anywhere from the 2nd to the 4th, so we'll see how that goes. And then Julian Neal, I think it'd be a great cornerback for us as well. In fact, he might even start for us. I think he reminds me a lot of Josh Jobe, like I said. And then DT Caleb Proctor. If you compare Caleb Proctor and Lee Hunter together, we'd have an awesome interior defensive line in the years to come. And then the tight end, Carson Ryan, is one of the most underrated players in this draft. The O-line that I have is Carver Willis. Again, a very underrated offensive lineman. It'd be perfect in our system. Eli Heinrich from Navy, the running back, 3rd down specialist. If you want to start him there and let it grow, that would give us a tremendous backfield with Jonah Coleman, Heinrich, and Ashton. Would be awesome. And then finally, to round it out, Malik Benson to return kicks and to maybe be that guy. The Rashid Shaheed type guy. And then I've got Jaffer Murphy from UTSA, the kicker. Dude kicked 70-yard field goals into the net, no problem. But more impressively, he ran a 4.540. You got to kick off, run down, make the tackle. So, I mean, if Al Davis was around, he'd probably be our 1st-round pick. But anyways, and then I apologize for this last thing, but I left C.J. Daniels off my initial list. He's my other wide receiver, big target as well. He's one of the best contested catch guys that you'll find anywhere. In fact, he might be the best contested catch guy in the class. He's got hands. He doesn't have the production as much, but if he would have played with Mendoza last year, we've been talking about this guy in the 3rd round for sure. Right now, he's way low on the depth chart, or on the consensus. But again, a guy I really enjoyed watching. So that's C.J. Daniels. Maybe we can get him as well. So anyways, that's all I got for you. Thanks for tuning in. Get this thing posted before the draft so everybody can kind of dig in. We only got a few hours left before it pops off. Please comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the mock drafts, who your players are going into the draft. Call your shot. And yeah, we'll talk to you later. I'll probably put out a UDFA video in the next couple days. It takes a while to do all that, but I will try to get that out to all of y'all. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.